Welcome to my YouTube channel Bachelor and Master English. Today we are talking about a poem by American poet Linda Pastan. The title of today's poem is Ethics. In our today's discussion, we shall be introducing the poem at a glance. There will be paraphrase, summary, analysis, and conclusion. And beyond this, I will be talking about some questions, extra questions that are related to this discussion. I'm sure you'll accompany me till the end of this video. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel, and if you have been watching it, please don't forget to share and drop a like. Okay, here we go. There is a poem. Its introduction. The title is Ethics. Poet is Linda Pastan. Publication 1979. Some writers have written that early 1980s. So the country is USA. Genre is poetry, and the mood is contemplative. Conflict here in the poem is whether to save life or art. That's the conflict, and there is the mood is created within this conflict. The theme is sometimes people don't understand the value of art and experience. That's the theme of this poem. Tone is inquisitive students and the teacher being unable to fathom why the students can't understand. This domineering behavior of this teacher and not understanding the child's psychology and enforcing anything in prescriptive way. That's how the teachers are unable to go into the depth of students' needs and desires, and they teach what they know. They don't teach what the students need to know. That's the problem, and the teachers are always in such a position, and the teacher have not become democratic and student friendly, and that's the concern of the poem, and that's the theme of the poem here. Tone here, and that's the tone also. Inquisitive and domineering. Inquisitive students and being feeling a bit upset with the teacher, and teacher always domineering. That's the conflict, and this tone sounds, like there is conflict, student and teacher. Allusion, so it refers to the painter and etcher, Rembrandt, Harmen John Van Rens. That's a renowned Dutch painter. Okay. Here is a paraphrase. A long time ago in ethics class, our teacher posed the question, if there was a fire in a museum, would you save a painting by Rembrandt or an elderly woman who was nearing her end? This made us uncomfortable, and one year we would answer the old woman, and the next we would answer painting, always indecisive. Sometimes I would imagine the old woman as my grandmother wandering through a museum instead of her old kitchen. One year I was feeling witty and replied, why not let the woman decide herself? The teacher responded that I am avoiding responsibility. Recently I stood in a real museum in front of a real Rembrandt as an old woman. The colors of the painting were dark, even though it emanated earth's elements. I now understand that the women and painting and the season are more complex than a child can say. That's a paraphrase, and here is summary. In this poem, the speaker expresses her visiting a museum and looking at the Rembrandt painting. This makes her remember an ethics class she had taken away many years back. Each fall, the teacher presented the same question to the students which she would choose if they were forced by a fire in a museum to save either an old woman or a Rembrandt painting. The question had little meaning for the students who were restless on hard chairs and who were little for picture or old age, but each year they would be half-hearted. Alternate to their answer was 1 year for life, the next year for art. To try or make the question relevant to her life, The poet admits she would try to picture the old woman as her grandmother. On her feeling clever, the speaker decides herself. Saying this, the speaker was placing the burden of responsibility of choosing on someone else. This fall, the speaker finds herself as an old woman in a museum before a real Rembrandt. As she studies the painting, she notices that the colors are darker than autumn, darker even than the winter. The painter's colors on the canvas are those deep colors seen at the end of a season. In the next line, however, she sees that through these dark colors, art's most radiant elements burn. The final lines suggest wisdom and a comprehension that only comes with age. Now she understands the value of painting, which she could not as a young girl. She remembers how little meaning either pictures or old age that had for her. The restless students in the ethics class um, at the start of the poem can know nothing about old age or about art or even about natural life cycles, and they certainly cannot save one or other from the death or destruction that awaits them all. This poem tells us that it is not possible for the children to understand questions of ethics or moral values. The poet focuses on the value of painting, which is lively. She said that the art's most radiant elements burn through canvas. Years later, the poet knows that woman and painting and season all are almost one and they are beyond the understanding of children. Okay, this is all with the summary. Let's discuss the poem in Nepali. Ethics, नैतिकता, यो मानिसको व्यवहारलाई प्रभावित पार्ने वा नियन्त्रण गर्ने नैतिक सिद्धान्तहरू, नैतिक सिद्धान्तसँग सम्बन्धित दर्शनशास्त्रको एउटा हाँगोलाई चाहिँ यो एथिक्स भन्छ। अनि यसमा अर्को चाहिँ यो कविता लिन्डा पास्तान अमेरिकी कविले 1979 मा लेखेर प्रकाशित गरेको कविता हो। अब यसमा के छ त भन्दाखेरि एउटा शिक्षकले विद्यार्थीलाई त्यस्तो बिदाको बेलामा परियोजना कार्य यस्तो दिने र अनि विद्यार्थीहरूले त्यसलाई कसरी चाहिँ एउटा समाधान गर्ने भन्ने कुरो संसारभरि नै एउटा खालको चाहिँ रीत चलिरहेको हुन्छ। प्रायः जसो शिक्षकले आफूलाई मनपर्ने र विद्यार्थीहरूले सकेसँग अलिक अनुसन्धानमूलक कुरामा जाउन् भनेर चाहिँ त्यो पनि गर्न सक्छन्, तर कतिपय शिक्षकहरूले आफूले जे जान्दछ त्यही चाहिँ दिने भन्ने कुरा पनि हुन्छ। कोही शिक्षकहरूले के गर्छ त भन्दाखेरि विद्यार्थीहरूलाई अलिकति जागरुक बनाउने र अनि अलिकति विद्यार्थीलाई अध्ययनशील बनाउनको लागि चाहिँ त्यस्ता कार्यहरू पनि एउटा दिने गरेको पाइन्छ। जस्तोसुकै कार्य दिए पनि यहाँ के छ त भन्दाखेरि विद्यार्थीहरूले सधैँ चाहिँ पट्यार लाग्दो काम सधैँ उही चाहिँ कुरा देख्यो भने विद्यार्थीहरूलाई पनि अलिकति जाँगर लाग्दैन, पढ्न उत्साहित हुँदैन र अनि टिचरप्रति उनीहरूको घृणा भाव जाग्छ। त्यो भएर टिचरले आफूप्रति विद्यार्थीहरू चाहिँ आकर्षित भइराख्नको लागि नराम्रो कुरा गरेर आकर्षित विद्यार्थी बनाउने होइन, विद्यार्थी मैत्री कुराहरू गर्ने, विद्यार्थीको जीवनसँग सम्बन्धित सरकारका विषयहरूलाई चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई त्यसमा इन्भल्भ सहभागी गराउने र उनीहरूलाई त्यसैबाट ज्ञान चाहिँ सिकेर गर्ने, हैन, सिकेर गर्ने अथवा गर्दै सिक्दै गर्ने खालको चाहिँ ज्ञानको अभ्यास गर्ने खालको चाहिँ हुनुपर्छ। अब एउटा बाल्यकालको मान्छेले नैतिकताको कुरा अनि त्यसपछि अब कला र जीवन महत्त्वपूर्ण कुन महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ, मान्छेको जीवन महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ कि कला महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा बाल्यकालमा कसरी छुट्याउन सक्छ। त्यो एउटा मान्छे परिपक्व हुँदै जाँदाखेरि कलाको महत्त्व बुझ्छ, मान्छेको जीवनको महत्त्व बुझ्छ, कुनलाई चाहिँ पहिला चाहिँ उसले प्राथमिकता दिने हो भनेर उसको विवेकले काम गर्न थाल्छ, उसको बुद्धि के छ र विवेक कसरी प्रयोग गर्छ भन्ने कुरा पनि त्यहाँ रहन्छ। त्यसो भएर यहाँ चाहिँ कवितामा कविले के गरेछ भने जीवन र कलाको बारेमा धेरै महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा प्रस्तुत गर्छन्। अब कवितामा जीवन बढी महत्त्वपूर्ण छ कि कला भन्ने बारेको धुधारलाई चाहिँ प्रस्तुत गरिएछ। कविलाई चाहिँ धेरै वर्ष पहिला आफ्नो शिक्षकले सोधेको प्रश्न अनुत्तरित हुन्छ। अब धेरै वर्षपछि अहिले वास्तविक सङ्ग्रहालयमा वास्तविक रेम्ब्रान्ड पेन्टिङको अगाडि उभिँदा उनी आश्चर्यजनक उत्तरमा आइपुगेकी छिन्। आफूले बचाएको कुरा ज्यादै महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ भन्ने संसारमा कलाकार हुनुको नैतिकता के भन्ने बारेमा पनि कविताले बताउन खोजेको छ। बच्चाहरूले नैतिकता वा नैतिक सिद्धान्त गरेर प्रश्न बुझ्न सक्दैन। तर पछि परिपक्व भएपछि उत्तरहरू पाउँछन् भन्ने कुराको यहाँ बताउन खोजिन्छ। मान्छेले भन्छ क्या पछि थाहा पाउलास्, पछि थाहा पाउला तिमीहरूले भनेर भन्छ। तर पछि के हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा अहिले भनिदिँदै भन्नु, तर उसलाई थाहा। तर तिमी यो कुरा चाहिँ सम्झिराख, पछि यस्तो यस्तो हुनसक्छ भनेर चाहिँ एक खालको चाहिँ भविष्य द्रष्टा। शिक्षकहरू त भविष्य द्रष्टै हुन्। उनीहरूले विद्यार्थीहरूलाई त्यस्तो प्रकारले चाहिँ एउटा उनीहरूलाई आफूप्रति आकर्षित गरेर कुनै विषयवस्तुप्रति चाहिँ इच्छा अथवा जागरुकता पैदा गरेर रोचकता साथ त्यसलाई चाहिँ प्रस्तुत गरियो भने भविष्यमा यस्तो हुँदो रहेछ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ थाहा पाउला तिमीहरूले भन्नुभन्दा यस्ता यस्ता कुरा हुँदो रहेछन्, यस्ता यस्ता कुरा भयो भने हामी यसरी तयार हुनुपर्दो रहेछ भनेर अनि त्यहाँबाट उसले चाहिँ तयार गर्न सक्छ। नत्र भने त अब चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि भविष्यमा तिमीहरूले देखाउला, भोलि तिमीहरूले देखाउला मात्रै भन्दैमा केही पनि हुँदैन। तर के छ भन्दा बच्चाहरूले नैतिकता वा नैतिक सिद्धान्तका कुराहरू बुझ्न सक्दैनन्। पछि परिपक्व भएपछि उनीहरूले थाहा पाउँछन् भन्ने कुरालाई चाहिँ यहाँ बताउन खोजिएको हो। कला जुन एउटा चित्रकला पेन्टिङ जुन कला छ त्यो जीवन्त र प्राकृतिक हुन्छ र यो कम्तीमा जीवनकै स्तरमा हुन्छ भन्ने कुरा पनि कविले देखाउन खोजेको हो। चित्रकला यस्तो महत्त्वपूर्ण हुन्छ। विभिन्न कलाहरूमध्ये चित्रकलालाई चाहिँ विशेष यहाँ जोड दिएको छ। अनि कला कति महत्त्वपूर्ण हो त? कला कसरी जीवनसँग सम्बन्धित छ? कलाले कसरी चाहिँ जीवनलाई प्रतिबिम्बित गर्छ? कलाले कसरी मान्छेहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यो प्रति आकर्षित गरेर चाहिँ कलाको लागि चाहिँ कलाबाट दिने एउटा चाहिँ जीवनको रङ, कलाबाट दिने जीवनमा एउटा एक खालको चाहिँ भावना, शिक्षा त्यो अरूबाट हुँदैन भन्ने कुरा आउँछ। अनि यो वास्तविक जीवनको स्तर हुनुपर्छ भनेर यो कविताले देखाउन खोजेको हो। धेरै वर्ष पहिला नैतिक सिद्धान्त सम्बन्धी दर्शनशास्त्रको कथामा प्रत्येक शरद ऋतुमा त्यतिखेर चाहिँ अब विद्यार्थीहरूलाई चाहिँ केही समय बिदा हुन्थ्यो अनि त्यो समयमा शिक्षकले चाहिँ परियोजना कार्यहरू, प्रश्नहरू दिन्थे, सोध्थे। यदि सङ्ग्रहालयमा आगो लाग्यो भने तिमीले कसलाई बचाउँछौ? एउटा कलालाई या एउटी बुढी आइमाईलाई? कवि र उसका साथीहरू बेचैन भएर उत्सुकताहीन ढङ्गले कहिले कला त कहिले बुढी आइमाईहरूलाई छान्थे। एकपटक त बाठी भएर कविले भने कि त आइमाईलाई आफै निर्णय गर्ने अवसर नदिने त? अनि कविले जिम्मेवारीको बोझबाट पन्चिन खोज्छे भनेर गुरुले भन्नुभयो। जिम्मेवारीबाट पन्चिनु मिल्दैन तिमी भनेर गुरुले भनिसकेपछि अब यो शरद ऋतुमा कवि वास्तविक सङ्ग्रहालयमा वास्तविक कलाको सामुन्ने जुन रेम्ब्रान्डको चाहिँ कला छ त्यो कलाको सामु उभिएकी छन्। बुढी आइमाईको अगाडि उभिएकी छन् वा आफै पनि झन्डै त्यस्तै बुढी भएकी छन्। अब त्यो समयक्रमले चाहिँ उनलाई बुढी बनाइसकेको छ। पहिला बाल्यकालमा विद्यार्थी जीवनको कुरा र अहिले उनको अब बुढ्यौलीको उमेरको कुरा चाहिँ फरक छ। अनि कसरी उनले चाहिँ एउटा परिपक्वता ग्रहण गरिन्छ नि, एउटा विद्यार्थीले कसरी एउटा परिपक्व नारीको रूपमा, व्यक्तिको रूपमा चाहिँ विकसित भयो त्यो कुरा चाहिँ पनि हामीले चाहिँ यहाँ पाउँछौँ। यो ग्याब्रियल गार्सिया मार्क्वेजको द लास्ट भोयज अफ द गौसिप, त्यो भूतको जहाजको अन्तिम यात्रा जुन बारेमा चाहिँ ग्याब्रियल गार्सिया मार्क्वेजले चाहिँ त्यहाँ एउटा केटोले कसरी आफ्नो परिपक्वता चाहिँ देखाउँछ त त्यहाँ मान्छेहरूको अगाडि उनीहरूले विश्वास गर्दैन। यहाँ पनि यो कवि लिन्डा पास्टानले आफू चाहिँ आफ्नो त्यो दोधारपन अहिले चाहिँ आएर आफू कसरी परिपक्व भएँ भनेर देखाउन खोजेको छ। त्यो कवितामा यो कवितामा भनेको कुरा र चाहिँ त्यो मार्क्वेजले भनेको चाहिँ कथामा लगभग प्रसङ्ग उस्तै उस्तै आउँछ। यहाँ यो महिला पात्र छ, त्यहाँ पुरुष पात्र छ। यहाँ अब चाहिँ शिक्षकलाई गृह कार्य गर्न दिएको प्रसङ्ग छ। उता चाहिँ गाउँलेहरूले अब सबैले चाहिँ उसलाई अब विधवाको छोरो, त्यसपछि चाहिँ अब उसको कोही छैन, असहाय मान्छेलाई सबैले कुट्ने पिट्ने अनि जो दोष मात्रै लाउने। अनि पख तिमीहरूलाई म केही गरेर देखाउँछु भनेर उसले चाहिँ आफू परिपक्व भइसकेपछि उसले गरेर देखायो पनि र अनि मान्छेले उसलाई पत्याउने बनायो। मान्छेले आफूलाई पत्याउने बनाउनको लागि चाहिँ धेरै सङ्घर्ष गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ त्यो ग्याब्रियल गार्सिया मार्क्वेजको कथामा जसरी देखाए जस्तै इथिक्स भन्ने यो कवितामा पनि हामीले त्यो खालको चाहिँ कुराहरू पाउँछौँ हैन। अब यिनले पनि आफू परिपक्व भएको अब त्यस्तो बुढी भएर आउँदाखेरि बल्ल चाहिँ जीवन र कला हैन, अनि त्यसपछि त्यसको महत्त्व प्रकृति जीवन र कलाको कसरी सम्बन्ध जोडिएको छ, अन्तर सम्बन्धित यी कसरी छन् त भनी देखाउन खोजिरहेको छ हैन। अब अनि यो बुढी आइमाईको अगाडि उभिएकी छन्, आफै पनि झन्डै त्यस्तै बुढी भएकी छन्। यो आकृतिभित्रका रङहरू शरदभन्दा अँध्यारो, हिउँदभन्दा अँध्यारो, पृथ्वीका खैरा रङहरू, यद्यपि पृथ्वीका सबभन्दा ज्वलल्यमान तत्त्वहरू क्यानभासमा बल्ने गर्छन्। अहिले कवयित्रीले अथवा कविले थाहा पाएकी छन् कि कला र आइमाई र ऋतुहरू सब लगभग एक भएका छन् र सबै बच्चाहरूले बचाउने वा बुझ्ने पहुँचभन्दा पर छन्। अब कवितामा त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ अब धारणा धेरै वर्ष पहिला के भयो, वास्तविक चाहिँ एउटा सङ्ग्रहालयको अगाडि, वास्तविक चित्रको अगाडि, वास्तविक कलाकारको चित्रको अगाडि उभिँदा कस्तो भयो त? साँच्चीको सङ्ग्रहालयमा साँच्चीको रेम्ब्रान्ड अगाडि उभिँदा कस्तो अनुभव भयो? अनि शिक्षकले धेरै अघि सोधेको प्रश्न किन अनुत्तरित भयो, हैन? अब यहाँ विभिन्न उपमाहरू प्रयोग गरेका छ। अब तिनीहरूले चाहिँ सजीव प्रकृतिको भएको र पृथ्वीसँग जोडिएका कम्तीमा एउटा स्त्रीको स्तरका कुराहरू पनि देखाउनु पर्यो। अनि अर्को छ बच्चाहरूको नैतिकता वा नैतिक मूल्य मान्यताका प्रश्नहरू बुझ्न असम्भव छ। अनि बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ अब यो सँगै एकै खालको चाहिँ गृह कार्य परियोजना कार्य होइन, बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ फरक फरक स्वादका चाहिँ कुराहरू दिनुपर्छ र बच्चाहरूलाई चाहिँ उनीहरूको योग्यता क्षमता उनीहरूको चाहिँ तहसँग सम्बन्धित खालका चाहिँ कामहरू गर्नलाई चाहिँ कुनै उनीहरूको छुट्टीको समयमा उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ एउटा काम दिँदाखेरि शिक्षकहरूले बच्चाहरूको चाहिँ एउटा तहलाई, योग्यतालाई, बच्चाहरूको क्षमतालाई, बच्चाहरूको रुचिलाई ध्यानमा राखेर सकेसम्म उनीहरू चाहिँ स्वाभाविक रूपमा चाहिँ अलिक खुसी भएर त्यो चाहिँ काममा लागुन् र बच्चाहरूलाई त्यसलाई त्यही चिज बोझ नबनोस् भन्ने खालको चाहिँ बताउन खोज्या हो। Okay, that's all with the discussion of the poem in Nepali. Now let's get going with the analysis of the poem. The poem Ethics by Linda Pastan gives a sense of continuity across time when the poet stands with her recollections of her high school years and ends with her current views on ethics. Being an old woman, the key message of the poem is to explain the meaning of life from aesthetic perspective, placing emphasis on changes in one's mind, linking past experiences with present perceptions of the values of life and art, and developing personal philosophy of life. In this poem, the significant theme revealed by the poet is related to ethical response to the complicated situation which require applying philosophical views on the values of human life and the values of art. The teacher does not want her students to ignore the issues which require ethical decision making. The high school students taught by the teacher of ethics should have a good understanding of the meaning of human life, its values, and how to lead a good life. To start with, the poet places emphasis on the changes in her mind due to her past experiences, which help her to find differences in perception of the meaning of life and its value. Pastan acts as a speaker in the poem. She presents her childhood experiences and presents her realization. She may be trying to tell us that it is useless to argue about the mystery of ethics with juvenile minds. This immature mind the children lack maturity, patience, and logical inference. Hence, there is no point in asking such questions for the children. So, children should be asked relevant questions that are related to their getting them involved in doing tough questions and getting them troubled or puzzled, yeah, it's not the thing that the teacher has to do. The teacher has to think about child psychology and the attitude of the children, how they can. So the learning outcomes, what we are expecting, what the curriculum is demanding, and what the learning outcomes we are expecting. The teachers have to think about that. Okay. This poem presents a dilemma whether life or art is worth more. For many years, the poet struggles to solve the dilemma and eventually comes to the surprise answer. Standing in a real museum before a real Rembrandt, old woman or herself being old, the poet understands that the painting, being alive, natural and connected to the earth, is at least the same level as the old woman, if not higher. The poet also knows that woman and the painting and season all are almost one and all beyond saving by children. The poet refers to the present experience of this lady or herself as an old woman in order to find the differences in perceptions of the meaning of life, its values, and the values of art. The question is that central to ethics concerns the value of piece of art in relation to human life. This poem is the story of its title, Ethics in the Life of One Woman. It not only tells a story about the passage from youth to old age, but also about maturing morality and maturity that perceives the unity among all the things and takes responsibility for the real. To put it in the language of the poem, it is about making the passage from half-hearted, the half-imagined, to an ethical landscape that has features that are almost one. As a matter of fact, the poem Ethics provides an opportunity to assess the comparison between human life and art. The poem is aimed at giving explanation of how to resolve ethically important issues. The way the author chooses his words to contribute to the development of the poem's theme is also worth noting. Thus, in the poem Ethics, there is much evidence of the significant role of the poet's maturity as a professional. The speaker is presented as a person who has matured to the highest level because she can give an adequate response to the set questions. These facts mean that the poem provides positive interpretation of the role of personal experience in one's life. The speaker has matured enough to have developed her identity in life. Although the poem is rather hopeless, it teaches a lesson to learn morality from past personal experiences. Okay, with and now we have come to the conclusion. Linda Pastan's poem Ethics helps people make ethical choices in their lives through personal experiences. This poem provides an opportunity to assess the difference in ethical decision making in the past and present. In young age and old age, there is a close relationship between the values of human life and values of art. Linda Pastan seems to assert the primary role of a personal experience in understanding and resolving ethical problems. Indeed, this experience allows the speaker to provide ethical evaluation of the situation many years later when she grew old woman and had a chance to visit a real museum and observe a real Rembrandt painting. One moral lesson I have learned from the poem is always take time to understand the deeper meaning of people's words and actions. Pastan gives a remarkable, clear explanation of the meaning of human life, its values, and the values of art from an aesthetic perspective to the development of personal philosophy of life. Okay, now this is the conclusion of the text, the discussion. Now here I have a question. One question: what's worth more, life or art? This is a very difficult question to answer without critical thinking. Both life and art are equally valuable. We can say neither life nor art is more valuable. Value is relative. It is your time and place which makes them valuable. That's the point we have to note down. The colors within the frame are darker than autumn, darker even than winter, and the browns of earth, though earth's most radical elements, radiant elements burn through the canvas. These metaphors imply that the painting, being alive, natural, and connected to the earth, is at least to the same level as the old woman, if not higher. Do you agree? Uh, Certainly, we can find similarities between many things when we analyze critically. This is similarly between a woman and painting. Both are creations, but a woman is painting where the earth is canvas, and the nature is creator. The painting is also alive, which manifests various aspects of life, like our emotions, passions, beauty, culture, sentiments. Painting immortalizes our life. It is the symbol of civilization, our culture, and tradition. So it is important as a woman. The speaker in the poem uses the metaphors to give us the impression that the painting is not just a simple drawing, but it is something alive, something connected to the earth, which is worth saving. Thus, putting it at the same level of the old woman and thus making the dilemma more balanced. In addition, the idea of a color burning through the canvas puts more emphasis on the painting being something supernatural, thus increasing its status in the poem to be as high as the old woman. In addition, by saying that I now know that woman and painting and seasons are almost one and all beyond saving my children. by children. The speaker implies that both the painting and the women represent something old, wise, and decadent, and are something that ethics say we cannot and should not easily give up. But children are not able to understand that. Therefore, they cannot save them. Therefore, the colors within this frame are darker than autumn, darker than even winter, and the browns about though Earth's most radiant elements burn through the canvas. These metaphors imply uh, that the painting, being alive, natural, and connected to the earth, is at least at the same level as the old woman, if not higher. We can agree with this analogy. Okay, with this discussion, I have come to the end of my today's video discussion of ethics by Linda Pastan. I'm sure you got the points. Uh, Thank you very much for your patience, time. We shall be back again